What's up, everyone? Welcome to another jikGeek in the week. Man, this has been a while since we've done one of these. Plenty to talk about today. I think we're going to kick things off with some Ant-Man 3 leaks, some rumours. We're going to move on to the inevitable Avatar: The Way of Water, 2 billion box office. Yeah, that's taken in a serious amount of cash. We're going to move on to some House of the Dragon news. Some potential rumours around DCEU Reboot. And we're going to finish things off with some Final Fantasy announcements. And then some way back when George R.R. Martin updated his Not a Blog. We're going to go through the Winds of Winter update he did in December. So first things first, thanks to the new subscribers. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. Means the world, means everything to me. Thanks for the recent views, and yeah, I hope you're all enjoying the content. Plenty more to come. Now, if you're joining us in the chat, welcome. It'd be great to hear from you, and yeah, drop a comment, drop a like if you're enjoying the stream. This is just going to be a Sunday night chill stream. Lots to talk about, lots to go through. So yeah, I think we're going to kick things off with Ant-Man 3 leaks. There's been a lot of talk about the Quantumania film. There's going to be a lot of there's going to be a lot of spoilers floating about, whether that's on YouTube or whether that's Reddit, 4chan, Twitter, pretty much everywhere. I mean, I've got a couple of articles to go through, and then we'll have a spoiler kind of warning, because we're going to go through some heavy leaks. Now, I think these have originally come from 4chan, but these have ended up on Reddit. So we're going to go through those. I think we'll move on to the first article, though. This comes from Wiki of Nerds, which I don't think we've covered before on jikGeek in the week. But yeah, I think they always do some decent content, to be fair. I've read a few of their articles recently. I think actually we're just going to do a quick sound check just to make sure things are working okay. Yep, sounds perfect. Right then, Ant-Man 3 potential plot leaks reveals the fate of Scott and Hope. Now, I'm going to be honest. Ant-Man, decent film, number 1. Ant-Man 2, haven't watched it, kind of know what happens. But heavily invested in Ant-Man 3 Quantumania. It looks absolutely brilliant. I think before we get into the leaks, though, Ant-Man 3 Quantumania, in my eyes, is make or break for the MCU, because Phase 4 destroyed the brand. It has gone from the heights of Phase 3 with Infinity War, Endgame, and that amazing climax to the Infinity Saga, pretty much with Marvel Phase 4 shitting on the whole brand, the whole franchise. Apart from No Way Home and the odd scene here in Loki, the odd scene here in Doctor Strange, you might as well forget Marvel Phase 4. So I think Ant-Man 3 is kicking off Phase 5, and for me, it's make or break for Marvel. If this doesn't succeed, and if this doesn't get us hooked straight back into the franchise, it gets us hooked for the, what is it called, the multiverse saga, I think we can almost forget about, Kang being hyped, the next Avengers films being hyped, and really, unless something major happens in Phase 5 and 6, I think we can forget about the hype that they bring as well. But I've got hope for this. I've really got hope for Ant-Man 3. It looks really good. I mean, I've read through some of the plot leaks and they look really good as well. Yeah, so things look promising for Ant-Man 3. Now, let's just crack straight into the article here. So, potential plot leak for Ant-Man 3 has revealed the final fate of the 2 characters in the film. So that's Scott and Hope. We also know what's up with Kang. Well, I've heard loads of stuff. I mean, I've watched countless videos about about Kang, about what happens. And actually, this article, I don't think goes into some of the stuff that I have heard. It does. Even the 4chan/Reddit rumors don't go into what I've heard. So maybe we can explore them as well. Like I said, if you're joining us in the chat, feel free to say hello. It's great to have you with us. And yeah, hope you're enjoying the content so far. Hope you enjoy the stream. It's just going to be a bit of a chill stream on a Sunday. What more do we really want to do? Right, so this gives a warning. Article could include potential spoilers to Ant-Man 3. Well, no duh. So, I think we've had some feedback maybe to highlight the part of the article we are reading. So, without that said, we're very close to Ant-Man 3 release date, and as such, promotions for the movie are moving full speed ahead. We've already got some juicy hints as to what's going on in the movie from Kevin Feige, and director has also confirmed that Kang's status in the film. But that's not all. We did a bit of digging and found out that the plot of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania has been leaked. So we know what the final fate of Scott Lang and Hope Van Dyne are in the movie. After all, for a long time, there were rumours about at least one of the above mentioned characters dying. So let us know what you think happens as per the leak. Look, these could be rumours. I mean, it's a massive spoiler warning. These could be rumours. These could be leaks. These could be complete BS, and, you know, things could change. We never know, because I have heard as well. And again, this isn't suggested by the article. Is there have been some studio meddling and some reshoots with the film. So, in the Marvel Studios subreddit, a verified plot leak has been posted on the Tales from the ModQ thread. The post says that the climax... Well, sorry, before we go ahead, spoilers. If you don't want to be spoiled and you're not watching live, feel free to jump ahead. Plenty more to discuss there. And I'll add the timestamps in the description as to where, you know, if you want to jump ahead. Right, so... Plot says that the climactic battle in eye-popping huge, and we will see giant versions of Scott and Cassie in the fight. Kang, who is the main villain of the movie, will reportedly square off against Hope, Scott and Cassie. Well, that's interesting. Kang will survive the battle, and just when our heroes are about to go back to the real world, he will stop Scott. So even though Hope, Cassie and Hank will escape. That didn't say Jane as well. But Scott will not escape. Hope will return for him since she can't imagine a life without him. The two of them will try and fail to trap Kang again in the quantum realm. So he will escape, and instead Hope and Scott will get trapped. Our Ant-Man and the Wasp will then stare out into the quantum realm. Hope will assure Scott and Kang know how... Hope will assure Scott that Cassie knows how to bring him back. Well, I hope so. We won't know whether this plot leak is true till the film releases, but if it is true, fans will be able to breathe a sigh of relief. After all, contrary to all the theories going around, Scott isn't actually dying. I mean, that's a relief, and I know that this goes straight into Avengers Kang Dynasty, which is the equivalent of Avengers Infinity War. So that's kind of when everyone they kind of come together and will likely face Kang in a one-on-one, i.e. the Avengers versus Kang or Kangs. So what does this mean for both the film and for Phase 5, and I guess what does it mean for Kang Dynasty as well? Well, first off, for the film, it means that potentially we have got a situation where Ant-Man is transported to the quantum realm, as per we've seen the trailers. Kang wants him to get something for him, and I think this is something to do with the quantum nexus. Now, from the comics, what I understand, the quantum nexus is where basically life and time and space is controlled, is the center of time and space of the universe, and that is within inside the quantum realm. Now, my guess is this is why Ant-Man is in the quantum realm. He's been able to get himself there somehow, but he's stuck. And I think because maybe Ant-Man can use his PIM particles that can get him into the quantum nexus to get some sort of device or power source in order to use in his time-traveling disk, spaceship, something like that, in order to either get out of the quantum realm or use the quantum nexus to navigate through the quantum realm, through other universes, and through other into, you know, maybe Marvel 616 universe, and obviously time travel through there. So it seems a bit timey-wimey, it seems a bit waffly, and I think what Phase 4 didn't do for us is really confirm who Kang is, what he's about. I know we had the piece in Loki, but for me that wasn't clear. We don't know why he's what he really wants, how he's got to where he's got in the quantum realm. So hopefully Ant-Man can really sort all of this out for us, answer all of these questions. Again, what it means for the film, though, I think there's going to be some cool battles between Ant-Man, Hope and Cassie versus Kang. I think we throw MODOK into the mix as well. And I think we throw Hank and Janet Van Dyne into the mix as well. Now, I think this is going to be the pinnacle of Ant-Man's story. I think he's going to go from, you know, the kind of laughable, comedic, bit of a joke he was in the previous two films. And bear in mind, he was sidelined in his second film, to being, you know, the main protagonist and maybe even one of the main Avengers going into Avengers Kang Dynasty and then even maybe Avengers Secret Wars. What does this mean, though, for Phase 5? Well, from what I've heard, Ant-Man Quantumania kicks off. It kicks off from where Kang Dynasty will begin. So the ending of this film will be the start of Avengers Kang Dynasty. What does that mean, though, going forward for Phase 5 is we may not see much from Kang until Kang Dynasty. And that's that's a kind of worrying, because we saw snippets of Thanos dotted into various films within Phase 3. And there were various post-credit scenes with Thanos. But to have Kang be introduced in Quantumania and then almost forgotten about until the end of Phase 6 almost, that's a long time. So hopefully we get some post-credit scenes with Kang. What's Kang doing? What's he about? Maybe some snippets as to what's his journey looking like between now and Kang Dynasty. So what does that mean for Kang Dynasty, for Secret Wars? Well, like I said, this sets up Kang Dynasty, but there's a massive gap. Maybe what we see, though, is almost Kang's prequel, who Kang really is, because in the comics, Kang is a descendant of both Mr. Fantastic and Doctor Doom. So in the comics, Kang the Conqueror's real name is Nathaniel Richards. Now, Nathaniel Richards' name is linked to Reed Richards, who is obviously Mr. Fantastic. Now that begs the question, how will Kang interact with the Phase 5/Phase 6 film with the Fantastic Four reboot? I think what we will see there is either a prequel to Kang's story, or we will see some sort of flashbacks or flash forwards with Kang's story and how this ties in with the Fantastic Four plotline. Maybe they do Doctor Doom as well. They do a reboot of Doctor Doom, and we see Doctor Doom interacting with Nathaniel Richards, or Fantastic Four interacting with Nathaniel Richards, and then we see kind of that prequel to Nathaniel Richards becoming Kang. So many different things that they can do, so many different questions, I think, but none of this is really definitive. Now, the biggest question is for me, how does Avengers Kang Dynasty end up becoming this Avengers Secret Wars film? Because I don't think there's that much content between the two. Yes, in Phase 3 we had, what was it, just Captain Marvel? I think that was the only film between Infinity War and Endgame. And it introduced Captain Marvel, who was almost this Deus Ex Machina in Endgame. So it opens the door as to how do we go from Kang Dynasty, which I do believe will be the Avengers versus Kang, or lots of Kangs throughout the multiverse, or you could argue that it's Kang versus Kang, and almost the Avengers are a bit of a sideline. I suspect Secret Wars will be a lot of quantum realm, timey-wimey stuff, with a lot of the Avengers going back in time or going to different multiverses to gather up different superheroes from Marvel films gone by, in the years gone by. But in the comic books, Secret Wars is all about Doctor Doom creating this battle world. So how do we go from Kang Dynasty to Doctor Doom creating this? Maybe they might, I don't know, maybe they might change, Doctor Doom for Kang, and Kang sets up this world where it has to be Avengers versus Avengers. Who knows? They could go a number of places with Secret Wars. The premise, though, I think there will be even more characters introduced from previous Avengers films, previous Marvel films, previous Marvel franchises, and it all kind of wraps up into one big battle with all of the Avengers taking on all of the Kangs. Now, whether that means we get people like, Robert Downey Jr. coming back, we get Chris Evans coming back as Iron Man and Captain America respectively, I don't know. I'd like to think not, although it would be cool to see them on the screen once again, but it almost feels like that would take away from, the whole ending of Endgame. So we'll see. What we do know is, though, is that Ant-Man Quantumania is going to be make or break, I think. I think we know that. This has to succeed. This, never mind what it brings in terms of the money, this has to be a mega hit. This has to clear up all of the questions we've got about the quantum realm, the Kang storyline. This has got to link those two together. This has also got to link in what we saw in Phase 4. And from the trailer, it looks like there's a lot of links to Kang's like circular discs with things like Kamala Khan's bangles, Shang-Chi's 10 rings, and maybe some other stuff that we see in Phase 5. I think all that's got to be linked as well. And it's got to be clear who Kang is, what he's about, what he wants, and why he's in the quantum realm. Because I'm not certain we know the answer to that question yet from the trailer. Maybe that comes in a different trailer. Who knows? So this article goes on to talk about Kate Bishop showing up in a post-credit scene. I'm not really bothered about that. But I think, right, this is your spoiler warning for the Ant-Man and Wasp Quantumania leaks that we've had on both 4chan and from Reddit. So if you need to skip ahead, skip ahead. If you need to drop off the stream, that's fine for now. Come back in probably, 10 minutes. But if you're sticking around, here we go. So 4chan, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania plot leaks. So Janet met Kang whilst trapped in the quantum realm and stole the power source for his time machine, leaving him stranded. This obviously ties in with when Janet Van Dyne was in the quantum realm for all that time in Ant-Man and the Wasp 2. Now, how she stole this power source from Kang, who's got all this power and would inevitably, having had the power source, be this godlike man or godlike creature. How on earth Janet Van Dyne would get that power source off him is beyond me. It almost seems unreal that that could actually happen. So I think in terms of why he's there, that doesn't obviously clear that up. No, sorry. I guess it does clear up why he's there. He's there because he's looking to get this power source back, and that's why he's stuck around. How he got there, though, well, I guess it's clear that he's looking for some sort of power source in order to travel the multiverse. And I guess this quantum nexus power source, which isn't outlined, I don't think, in these plot leaks, is this power source. Now, from what I have read, the quantum nexus is also where, beings like the Watcher chill out. And the Watcher's that the guy from the What If series. So that was cool. And you know what? I would actually like to see how they link the Watcher and the What If stuff with the quantum realm, because that'd be cool to get those sort. I know not the animated versions, but those sorts of characters brought to life and end up, appearing in either, not this film, but obviously one of the Avengers films going forward. So let's move on to this second one. In the present, Scott has become a celebrity for helping defeat Thanos, but isn't spending a lot of time with Cassie. Well, this is what we went over in our Ant-Man trailer reaction. So if you haven't checked that out, make sure you do. We went through the recent trailer and then we kind of broke it down. It does seem like he's become a bit of a celebrity, him and Hope. And it's evidence that, this kind of celebrity lifestyle has gone into his head a bit, which obviously is putting Cassie to the side. But what we've also established is from the trailer is the whole thing about he lost that 5 years whilst the snap happened. So obviously, just recapping, the snap was only 5 hours for him, whereas in kind of the real world, it was 5 years. And what that means is he wants to get that time back. So that was clear from the trailer. That's clear from all of the others, all of the other information out there. What's not clear is the celebrity lifestyle is obviously preventing him with spending time with Cassie here. But I think what we can establish from this is, whilst Cassie and Scott are in the quantum realm, I guess it poses an opportunity for them to do some father-daughter bonding. Now, Cassie is working with Hank and Janet and wants to follow in Scott's footsteps, which she disapproves. Well, I think the whole disapproval thing is about where she's created this quantum device about communicating with the quantum realm, and that obviously absorbs them all into the quantum realm. But she wants to follow in her dad's footsteps. Obviously not the kind of the thief stuff, but more the technology stuff and him working with Hank and Janet on the quantum realm timey-wimey stuff. So Hank opens a portal to the quantum realm, which has been acting funky due to multiverse BS, accidentally allowing Kang to kidnap Cassie. That's an interesting one. So I think actually we've already disproved this with the trailer, because it's Cassie who opens up the quantum realm, and but it is clear that Kang kidnaps Cassie in order to strike that bargain with Scott. So that's kind of a 50-50, that one. Now the Ant family goes into the quantum realm to rescue Cassie and meet Krylar, who is played by Bill Murray. I think we'll come back to Bill Murray and Krylar because there's a few more about him. Janet and Krylar were buddies when Janet was trapped in the quantum realm and is still pining her, making things awkward with Hank. Well, that sounds cool, and I kind of like that they're bringing in Bill Murray's character, because it offers the chance for Janet and Hank to do something while they're in the quantum realm. Because they could have either stayed on Earth, or, you know, without this part of the storyline, it's evident that they wouldn't have had much to do. So I'm glad they're introducing something there. Right, we'll skip over that one. Oh, this is a cool one. Kang's second in command is Darren Cross, who, just to recap, is the villain from Ant-Man 1. So he's the kind of Scott's Ant-Man's nemesis in Ant-Man, the first film, who Kang rebuilt as MODOK. So just to recap, machine, organism, machine organism designed only for killing. So Krylar is also secretly working for Kang in exchange for the safety of the quantum realm. Now, this is why I wanted to park the Krylar thing, because I think Krylar and Janet are going to buddy up, and Krylar's going to get a lot of information from Janet and Hank, and maybe where some of the pin particles are, maybe where are the secrets in the quantum realm are, because bear in mind Janet was there for a very, very long time. And then I think he's going to take that information and share it again with Kang. So that's kind of a cool twist as to Krylar, i.e. Bill Murray's part to play there. So I think this is one we already know. Kang approaches Scott to trade Cassie for the power source, but Hank and Janet refuse to give it up, and Scott has to steal it from them. Now, interestingly, this leak talks about Hank and Janet having access to this power source. I don't think this one's correct. I think Scott has also almost got to find a way to gather up this quantum nexus, or gather a way into the quantum nexus to find the power source there, and either bring that back to Kang, or bring the directions to the quantum nexus to Kang. What I think he needs to steal from Hank and Janet is either some pin particles, or maybe the way to get there. Because if you remember, and if you recall from the trailer, what we see is Janet saying to Scott, you can't trust this guy, i.e. you can't trust Kang. And I think that's probably the directions to the quantum nexus, i.e. the power source. So I like how everyone's starting to link up now. We've got MODOK and Kang, obviously with Krylar, i.e. Bill Murray on the side, and then we've got the part to play for Hank and Janet. I guess what I like about this film, it sounds like Scott is going to be the main protagonist, and Scott's going to be doing a lot of the doing, which is good, because I didn't like in the second film that he was a bit of a sideline character. Yes, it brought in the Wasp, but what I like about Hope and Cassie, I think they're going to be more sidelined and supporting characters and supporting roles in this film. And the whole trade-off between what Kang needs, we established that from the trailer. So Kang's obviously wanting Scott to steal something from him. And I like that concept because it brings in what Scott was before the events of Ant-Man #1, where Scott was in prison. He was like a thief, I think, from memory, way back when. So the Ant family convinces Krylar to stand against Kang and rallies his people to battle Kang and his army. MODOK betrays Kang and helps the Ant family drain his power and defeat him and his forces, but then betrays the Ant family as well to escape on his own. So a lot to break down in this one then. So I think the Ant family is either, from what I can gather with other rumours, is either the population of either the mechanised ants, or what they're dubbing as the Ant-Man family, i.e. Scott, Hope, Cassie, Hank and Janet. Kind of that's the Ant family. What it sounds like is that they convinced Krylar to side with them and to take on Kang. Now, what it says here, MODOK betrays Kang. So obviously, this is a cool turn of events here, because we're going to start off with Kang and MODOK with a bit of Krylar on the side versus Scott and the squad, and then by the end of it, we'll have Kang and his old massive army from what we've seen in the trailer versus MODOK versus Krylar and versus like Scott and the gang. So there's going to be some switching. There's going to be some side switching, which is good. From what I understand, MODOK kind of wants to escape the quantum realm again, because Darren Cross ended up there in Ant-Man 1. Maybe this is why he wants to escape. He wants to get back into the real world. And what this doesn't confirm, though, I guess, is how the final battle plays out. Is it going to be Kang plus army versus the rest, or is it going to be Kang versus MODOK and then those two versus Ant-Man and crew as well? I don't know. What we do know is what it looks like MODOK is going to escape, either on his own or kind of, as part of Kang's like final attack on on everyone. So the movie ends with Ant-Man, with the Ant family still trapped in the quantum realm, whilst MODOK returns to the normal world. MODOK is the main villain, with Kang as his master, similar to Ronan and Thanos in Guardians of the Galaxy. So those are the vibes I'm getting as well. Very much so. MODOK is there to do some of the dirty work for Kang. But obviously, he wants to release himself from the clutches of Kang's, Kang's ties with MODOK. And obviously Darren Cross, who is the face of MODOK from what we saw in the trailer, wants to escape. And finally, Quantumania Kang is a younger variant, different from He Who Remains from Loki and Emperor Loki, that will appear in Loki Season 2. Okay, so not much more to break down from what we've, established in, previous Ant-Man updates. What I would say is it doesn't really answer a lot of questions about Kang himself. It doesn't answer, these leaks don't answer how he got there. Hopefully those answers are given in the film itself. I don't want this to be, he's just been there forever, or he just got there, because we need these questions answered, because this, in my eyes, is almost kind of a part A to Kang's origin story. This is like a part A to how Infinity War was Thanos' origin story. So without some of these key questions being answered in Ant-Man Quantumania, it may set up, a very, very difficult phase 5 and 6 with a lot of questions going into Kang Dynasty. What I've had on the tip of my tongue and in the back of my mind, if I'm honest, is why are they introducing Kang so early in the MCU? Because, and I know he's different to Thanos and we shouldn't compare him to Thanos, but Thanos was introduced absolutely perfectly. He was, there was the little hint here and there throughout phases 1 to 3, and then bang, Infinity War, kicked some ass, did a great job of introducing Thanos, and he was introduced perfectly. Infinity War was his origin story, and then obviously the massive climax in Endgame. What's different here is we're introducing the main villain for this multiverse saga in an Ant-Man film. Now, whether that's to kick off Phase 5 in a cool way or raise the profile of Ant-Man, I don't know. I don't know why they're doing this. It seems too early to bring in Kang and introduce Kang. Now, maybe this is a different Kang. Maybe we're going to see more Kangs. Because bear in mind, in Loki, we heard from He Who Remains that this isn't going to be the only Kang. He isn't the only Kang, and this one from Ant-Man 3 isn't the only Kang. So, again, these questions need answering. These leaks don't tell us that. I'm just hoping that Ant-Man 3 is a smash, is a top hit for opening Marvel Phase 5, because this then brings us to a really interesting position with the brand, with the franchise. This then, I've heard, ties straight in with Kang Dynasty, and I'm really hoping though across the two phases we do see more of Kang. Anyway, I think that wraps things up in terms of the leaks. Let's just see how the chat's doing. If you're joining us in the chat, how's it going? Let me know what you're up to on your Sunday. Yeah, I think that kind of wraps things up in terms of the leaks for Ant-Man. I think we'll move on to an article by Variety on, I guess, the inevitable $2 billion box office from Avatar 2: The Way of Water. Now, I've seen the film twice, and I thought it was brilliant. Yeah, some kind of plot flaws. Visually, though, absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. And I think whilst the plot let it down here and there, and that kind of middle part of the film was very long, it's no question that this is going to break 2 billion. What is interesting though is tickets cost more these days, so they've probably had to sell a lot less tickets for a lot more money to get the 2 billion mark. And an article I read a couple of weeks ago is that James Cameron has come out and said he needs at least $2 billion to break even, which is mind-blowing, staggering numbers. So even though they're going to surpass 2 billion, I don't think A, they'll get past Avatar 1, because I don't think it's as good as Avatar 1. B, the fact that they need 2 billion to even start generating a profit is ridiculous. But 3, what does this mean for the Avatar franchise? I think 2 billion, yeah, they start making a profit, but this means we're going to get an Avatar 3. And from what I've heard, this is going to be a franchise all the way up to Avatar 4 and 5 as well. So, it's the 6th weekend of release for Avatar: The Way of Water, and James Cameron's sci-fi fiction sequel is still floating atop the box office ahead of new release Missing. The Way of Water added 4.6 billion to its haul on Friday, pushing its domestic total to just shy of $600 million. That roughly marks a 35% drop from its previous outing. I mean, come on, it's been out for like 6 weeks now, but it's still, I think it's still number one across, across the box office. But yeah, this is still going strong. I think the last time I checked the numbers, they were at 1.9 something billion. So no doubt that over the next maybe few days, maybe week, this is going to hit 2 billion. The Avatar sequel has made more than its 2009 predecessor. had at this point in the run, though it continues to put up heavier drops. Domestic total for the sequel should be on the edge of 600 million by Monday, putting the film just a stone's throw away from taking down Incredibles 2 as the 12th highest grossing film of all time in America. So on a global scale, The Way of Water officially surpassed Spider-Man No Way Home as the 6th highest grossing film of all time, having generated 1.928 billion globally. That is impressive. My word. But as I said though, you know, with inflation, this is probably half of that, but you know, I guess that's the numbers we go with. So the film's next milestone will be crossing the 2 billion mark, which has only ever been achieved by 5 films. The first Avatar, coincidentally, Avengers Endgame, Titanic, which is another James Cameron mega blockbuster hit, Star Wars The Force Awakens, which I don't think it matches the quality of the film, and Avengers Infinity War. Now, I think Star Wars The Force Awakens aside, the other 4, rightly so, have proven that they are, you know, mega hits. The quality was there and they appeal to a mass market audience, which is probably why Avatar 2 is going to do the same. Now, like I said, I mean, I've seen this film twice now. I saw it in 3D and I've seen it in 2D, and I would honestly say that 2D is good enough. 2D is good enough. If you've seen it though, I'd love to know what you think in the comments about, you know, Avatar The Way of Water in general, whether you've seen it in 3D or 2D. I saw it in 3D. I thought it was a very, very long time to be sitting in the cinema with those big chunky glasses on. I saw it with my missus in 2D and we loved it. We thought it was brilliant. But what I would say is it's not as good as the first one. The first one, the story, the plot, the characters, they introduced the world perfectly. And I thought the ending was done spot on. And how we got there with the whole Awa connection and all the animals coming out at the end and the whole final battle, I thought that was perfect. This one, the middle was slightly too long in my eyes, although it allowed the film to breathe and we got to develop, you know, the whole way of water. Although it looked great, it did kind of remind me of Game of Thrones Season 8, where spectacular kind of visuals, but the lacked the plot, and you know there were some flaws at the end as well. I mean, I read an article a couple of weeks back where it said at one point in the film, and even my missus turned around after the film and said, you know, what happened to all the water people at the end? They kind of, as soon as the final battle started, they kind of disappeared. And it's true. I mean, you know, it only occurred to me that happened the second time viewing. So, look, it was a great film. It's a great experience. And I think that's why it appeals to a lot of people. And I have no doubt that this will make 2 billion. How far it goes after 2 billion, we can only see. I can't see it making 3 billion. And I can't see it making more than Avatar 1 and Endgame. Maybe with some re-releases, maybe with some of the, you know, like the DVD releases, maybe it will hit 2.5 billion. We will see. I think it will surpass The Force Awakens. I'm unsure whether it will surpass Titanic's 2.2 billion. We will see. But my God, James Cameron, what a director. The fact that he's, you know, he's got things like Alien, The Terminator, Titanic under his belt, but to have potentially 3 of the top 4 highest grossing films ever just shows the quality of the man. Now, what does this mean going forward for the brand? Well, obviously these things are going to get created. These are cash cows, money-making machines, and I don't think, no, I do think actually, and I'll pull up probably next week in our jikGeek in the week, what the rumoured Avatar sequel names are, because I think those have been leaked or those have been rumoured. So maybe we can talk about those next week. If I can find the leak, I'll try and the leak and the link, I'll put that in the comments or I'll put that in the description. I've got my ideas, so maybe we can discuss that next week as well, because I would love this to be kind of the same as the Way of Water, so going through, throughout the world and looking at the different civilizations. But what I would love in that fifth and final climax film is all of these different civilizations to come together, having had all of Earth, or the majority of Earth, transition to this new world, and then we just have a massive battle, because that would be absolutely epic. But if you haven't seen Avatar, The Way of Water, I suggest you go and see it. It's an incredible experience. I know people are saying you've got to see it in 3D. Personally, just go and see it in 2D. That's the jikGeek review, and that's the jikGeek recommendation right there. Right. Let's just double check the sound and the chat. Yeah. Okay. Well, I am following the chat on my phone to the left of me. So if you join in the chat, it'd be great to hear from you. Yeah, I hope you're enjoying the stream so far. Drop a comment, drop a like, and subscribe if you haven't already. If you join the content, giving you, if you're liking what we're doing so far at jikGeek, feel free to subscribe to the channel. You'll never miss an update. We try and update, post regular content every week, covering an array of of geek topics. So, and let me know your thoughts. Let me know your feedback. I'm always looking to improve the channel, improve the quality of the content, and the array of content we're delivering. So, what have we got next? We've got House of the Dragon Season 2 information, news, rumours, and some stuff from one of the writers. So, this article is all the way from Wiki of Thrones, which I don't think I've ever actually... I don't think I've ever been to Wiki of Thrones before, so it's good to always explore new websites, new content places, rather than the old, comicbook.com or the Hollywood Reporter, or the usual that we usually go to. Now, I guess if you're a fan of the channel and you're a subscriber, you'll know that I'm a massive fan of Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon. Season 1 probably couldn't have been any better. Coming off the back of Game of Thrones, the massive disappointment. My God, Ryan Condell, is it Ryan Condell or Ryan George and Miguel Sapochnik have done an absolute amazing job with Season 1. Now, Season 2 is shaping up to be just as good, if not better. And I know we're probably going to get about 4 seasons of this. So what it looks like is Season 2 is going to be action-packed. It's going to be full of good old Game of Thrones stuff. And having recently finished Fire and Blood, I know it's going to be a good season. So what have we got? House of the Dragon Season 2 finale is currently being written, says writer Sarah Hess. So what's that? That's the painted table that they lit up in the first season, which I thought was a cool, very, very cool scene. So Game of Thrones prequel, House of the Dragon. Let's just highlight this. Season 1 finished its run last month and received an overwhelmingly positive response from viewers and critics. Some have even labelled it as being better than the first season of Game of Thrones. I know people argue this, but the general consensus and my opinion is that Game of Thrones 1 to 4 is perfect television. House of the Dragon was probably as good as it could have been, but it's still not as good as Game of Thrones seasons 1 to 4. Although that doesn't stop it from being an absolutely amazing show. I loved every single episode. Some were better than others. What I loved was episodes 7 and 8. What I didn't like was some of the changes or some of the crappy additions that they made to the, from the books. But, it's on par with, I would say, probably, it's as good as probably, I'd say actually it's better than season 5. So it's smack bang in the middle of the quality of 1 to 4, and it's in between that and 5 to 8. Well, 7 and 8, utter shit, but, probably in between the quality of 1 to 4 versus 5 to 6 then. So the making of the first season took a lot of hard work, planning, patience, coordination, and a big budget. I mean, all of that massive budget was very, very well. A lot of it went on the dragon CGI, but I'd like to think that, it was very, very well spent. The series has already been renewed for a second season, get in, and production will begin in Spain starting very soon in 2023. I think actually it's started already, or it's going to start soon, which is very good news. It's had the green light. So the writing for the second season of House of the Dragon is already in progress, as confirmed by the show's writer Sarah Hess. In a recent interview with Variety, she revealed, "We are currently writing the season 2 finale. I don't think you will be disappointed." Now, I guess spoilers for Fire and Blood and, season 2. But if you're a fan of the books, you'll know what happens. And you can probably piece together what is going to happen in season 2. So, Hess also revealed the blood and cheese plot for the Dance of the Dragons will surely make several supporters of the Blacks question their allegiance. In season 1, episode 8, Helena mumbles, "Beware the beast beneath the boards." Many fans have speculated it to be Rhaenys' glorious escape from the dragon pit, whilst many others claim it is actually the blood and cheese storyline she is referring to. I hope it's the latter, because Rhaenys' glorious escape from the dragon pit was a change to what they made in the books, and I think it was poor. I think it was poorly done, unnecessary, and it didn't offer anything to the plot other than a cool scene for Rhaenys to do. So I really hope this is referring to the blood and cheese storyline, which I think, instead of being partway through season 2 like it is in the books, will be the climax of, it will be kind of like the Red Wedding style climax to season 2. And what a finish that will be. What a finish the blood and cheese storyline is going to be if they put it at the end of the story in season 2. I mean, to be fair, if they have it in the middle, maybe episode 6, 7, that's going to cause some serious, politics, some serious aftermath in season 2. But I really hope that they make it like an episode 9 and episode 10 in season 2, because blood and cheese storyline, if you've read the books, is seriously cool. It is one of the best things that happens in the Dance of the Dragons. So I really hope that they have that towards the end of the season. What does this mean, though? What does this mean for the show for season 2? Well, it means, although they've probably started, as it says here, just above, although they've probably started producing the show, they're probably doing some tweaks to the writing. because, as I said, in the books, the blood and cheese storyline happens probably, I would argue, in the middle of what you could guess is an episode 2 storyline. It happens quite early on after the events of season 1. So I think they're going to try and swap things about a bit to get that to the final end of the season. And then I think season 3 will probably be the aftermath of Blood and Cheese. The Greens then will retaliate, and then I think in season 4 we're just going to have banger episode after banger episode, because the climax to the Dance of the Dragons in the books is bloody. It is bloody, but it is fucking phenomenal. So I can't wait for them to bring that to life. It'd be good to hear from you, though, what you think about what's going to happen in season 2, where you think Blood and Cheese is going to end up in the season. Let me know what you think. I'm buzzing for season 2, though. There's going to be some cool characters brought in. There's some other good stuff, you know. There's some other cool storylines. I won't get into them too much, but there's some other cool storylines. But Blood and Cheese is going to be the main, hopefully the main pinnacle of season 2. Yeah, so that's season 2 news. Now, coming from Cosmic Book News, we've got an article about DC reboot rumours. And I'm not surprised these reboot rumours exist, because the DCEU is in utter shambles. Ever since the whole thing with the Snyder Cut and the takeover from Discovery, things have been very rocky, very turbulent with the DCEU. Now, the recent news is James Gunn, who directed Guardians of the Galaxy and directed the Suicide Squad, has taken over as almost the Kevin Feige of the DCEU. Now, what does this mean? He's going to have his own ideas about creating this new universe. And I suspect that he will reboot a lot of this universe, partly because we've got existing legacy Deadwood, partly because some of the more recent DC films have been crap and they've been a disappointment, and partly because a lot of the characters have had a lot of bad press, a lot of bad, there's been a lot of real dodgy news stories about them. Is Ben Affleck, does he want to play Batman? Does he not? What's Henry Cavill? Is he Superman? Now James Gunn saying he's not Superman. Are we going to get a Black Adam #2 film? Is that going to be with Superman? What's happening with Aquaman and Jason Momoa? There's rumours out there, and maybe this talks about, there's rumours out there that Cavill and Ben Affleck are axed, and so is Gal Gadot, but Jason Momoa is getting another role. I mean, what's all that about? So I think let's get into the article. So, a DCEU reboot might be underway, which follows it learned Wonder Woman 3 is dead in the water. Well, thank God, because Wonder Woman 2 was utter shit. I mean, Wonder Woman 1 was a good film, and it set up, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman very well. I mean, Black Adam, I've seen bits and pieces, and I've seen the post-credit scene. That was probably the best part about that film. So, with the big news that Wonder Woman 3 is dead, comes rumours that James Gunn and Peter Safran are going to reboot the DC universe, which involves the ouster of Henry Cavill, Ben Affleck, and more. So, essentially, the new DCEU is not going to include Henry Cavill as Superman, and is not going to include Ben Affleck as Batman. this has good implications and bad implications. The whole kind of the whole news and all the deadwood and all of the negativity surrounding the DCEU at the moment, a reboot could do that good, be a good thing. But I think the success off the back of the Snyder Cut just made it clear about what DC fans wanted. They wanted the Snyder Cut. They wanted the Darkseid storyline. They wanted that universe. I fucking loved the Snyder Cut, and it's the best thing that DC have done in years. Now, I don't think we can bring back Zack Snyder because he's got his whole Rebel Moon thing going off, on at Netflix. So it's very hard to pause the DCEU until he's done with that. What I think they should have done is, got Zack Snyder done and dusted with Justice League Part 2 and 3, because the outline script for that made it sound absolutely badass. The whole Darkseid storyline is what we want as DC characters. It is the major thing from the comics. It's the major thing from the anime. So why can't they just do that? What it poses, though, is an opportunity for James Gunn to start again, to bring everything great from what we've seen in the DCEU so far and pair that together with some of his creations like the Suicide Squad. Maybe take some of the elements from the comic books that have worked, like the Darkseid stuff, coupled that with some of the stuff that they haven't dipped into yet from the comic books, bring that all together and go for this massive new reboot, massive new plan, and do both films and TV shows. Because one thing that I know would absolutely smash it on any streaming service would be a Batman TV show. Few seasons, crime fighting, real Arkham Asylum style, but with the kind of grander narrative with the films, this whole overarching DCEU narrative, maybe with Darkseid thrown in there. I mean, my God, look at the villain backlog. We could, we've got Deathstroke, we've got the Joker, we've got Harley Quinn potentially as a villain. We could bring in the Suicide Squad maybe as villains as well. There's a whole bunch of Batman villains, and that could just, be one smash hit with a TV show. I think what James Gunn has mentioned, though, is there's going to be a Superman film as one of the earlier projects in this new DC universe. What that doesn't include, though, is Henry Cavill, which is a shame, really, because in my eyes, Henry Cavill is Superman. He's my Superman of my generation, but I think he's probably the best person to play Superman at this given moment. Excuse me. So, where are we? So, DC insiders at the 2019 San Diego Comic Con actually told me that Gunn was part of the DCEU reboot at the time, also involving J.J. Abrams, please no, and Matt Reeves, which could be good. Bring in Robert Pattinson, who didn't do a bad job at the Batman. So maybe Gunn has had his target set on becoming the head of DC for quite a while. I mean, look, Guardians of the Galaxy was a great film, and the Suicide Squad had a similar tone. DC, though, as a brand, as a franchise, has always been a lot more serious. It's been as serious as probably Infinity War was, and that level of seriousness with Thanos. If you're starting off introducing more and more of this comedic, Suicide Squad-esque, Guardians of the Galaxy-esque content, it just, for me, just doesn't match the tone of what the DC films and TV shows should be. Yeah, do one or two, but the grand narrative of Darkseid and the grand narrative of the DCEU has got to be serious. It's got to be taken more serious than what it has been before, similar to what it has been before, but also comparing that to the MCU. The MCU seems more juvenile, more jokey, and more room for frivolity and kind of less serious. DC has always been more serious. Superman and Batman are serious characters. So I think if they do more of what we've seen in the Suicide Squad and like as James Gunn's done in Guardians of the Galaxy, I don't think that's going to wash with fans. So what is exactly going on with the new DCEU is unknown. As Gunn has said, only he and Safran know the plans, but recent reports offer potential clues as to the direction, which sounds like a DC reboot following the release of The Flash. Now, the release of The Flash, albeit its problems, is going to be very decisive. Is that the finale of this whole kind of Zack Snyder Justice League era and wraps all that up as a bit of a reboot, as a bit of an end point? Or is it just going to be like a standalone film that ties knots with Ben Affleck as Batman, Ezra Miller as the Flash, whoever else is going to be in that film, up nicely? Who knows? Whether it resets the DCEU and brings us into the new world of James Gunn's franchise, that could be cool. That could be messy though. So, in the report about Wonder Woman 3 not moving forward, claims in the article match up with the recent rumours with offering Gunn and Safran want to move away from Zack Snyder's Justice League actors, which also includes Henry Cavill as Superman, Ben Affleck as Batman, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, and Ezra Miller as the Flash. Well, you know, Ezra Miller, rightly so, because of all that shit that's going on with his life. Anyway. Worth a mention is that whilst there have been all kinds of claims and rumours leading up to this point, there are all changes now that Gunn and Safran are in charge. In short, Wonder Woman 3 is cancelled. Good. Ben Affleck Batman cut from Aquaman 2 and done as Batman. Yeah, 50-50 on that, you know. He's been decent as Batman. I know a lot of people love him as Batman. The fact that he's cut from Aquaman 2 and Aquaman 2 is still going ahead is evident that this whole DCEU is going to get a reboot. Jason Momoa done playing Aquaman and now playing Lobo, which I'm not that close to Lobo, and Lobo was part of DCEU lore, so I don't know who that is. The fact though that Jason Momoa is Aquaman, you know, basically he's my Aquaman. Recasting him as another member of the Justice League or recasting him as another member of this world just don't wash with me. And I don't think it'll wash with many other DC fans. Dwayne Johnson's Black Adam sequel spin-offs may have been cancelled, considering the quality that we had in the first Black Adam film. I'm not surprised. Plans for the Snyderverse characters in Justice League 2 axed. I'm very disappointed in that because I absolutely fucking loved the Snyderverse, the Snyder Cut, the whole plans there. Darkseid is the way to go for DC, is the way to go for this DCEU. And if James Gunn does and Peter Safran do not realise that, they are just literally throwing money away. So, as we've said, Gunn and Safran reboot the DC universe. The Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson, the Batman sequel and spin-offs are safe. It'd be interesting to see what they do with those, with the Batman world with Robert Pattinson, because do they bring Robert Pattinson in as their Batman? I mean, that could make sense. You know, he ain't done a bad job. The Batman was a very good film. We've already established that. The Penguin, we've already established. The Joker, we've already established who was the enemy in the Batman. Can't remember his name. The Riddler. So we're getting there with the Batman villains. We're starting to open the book on the amount of cool villains that we've got from that catalogue. So that could be the plan. What I do suspect is, though, and my opinion on this is, we will see some form of Superman prequel, because it was very hinted that the first project is going to be Superman. It won't be played by Henry Cavill, and it did hint at the fact that this could be a time before the Man of Steel. Whether that means that they can bring back Henry Cavill at a certain point within this franchise, I don't know, but that's kind of the vibes I'm getting. Now, it's a shame that Henry Cavill has announced he's done as Superman, as James Gunn is developing a new movie, as we've just said. The site also mentions that by not moving forward with Wonder Woman 3, millions of dollars are being saved, as Gal Gadot was set to receive $20 million and Patty Jenkins, who's the director, $12 million. This is a cost-cutting exercise which is apparent considering all of Zaslav's recent moves with the new merger between Discovery and Warner Brothers. So what they may do is bring in new actors that cost less. What they may do is bring in a brand new set of actors, no prior BS with the DCEU, no baggage, no bad, stories or bad political drama or all that game. They just start again. So it could work, we'll see. I've got hope. As long as they do the dark side stuff, I'll be happy. And they do it well, and they do it serious. Now, what does this go on to say? Batman, Ben Affleck cut from Aquaman 2. The Flash likely to recast due to Ezra Miller. Well, he's had a lot of bad press recently. He's been a very naughty boy, so I'm not surprised at that. Henry Cavill done as Superman. Justice League 2 almost happened. My God. It's further said that at one time, the current heads of Warner Brothers, Michael DeLuca and Pamela Abdi, wanted to do one more go-around with Zack Snyder, DCEU actors and characters, and that a Justice League 2 was even wanted with these actors. Well, I think the whole fandom, DC fandom, wanted Justice League 2 and 3 to go ahead. Because it was amazing, Justice League. And what a stark difference between the shit that they gave us in 2016. So again, with Gunn and Safran now in charge, that doesn't look to be happening, as Gunn and Safran want to go their own new direction, which might include a new actor as the Man of Steel. As previously rumour said, Justice League 2 was going to happen with Henry Cavill back as Superman. So it also goes on to say Dwayne Johnson's Black Adam is in doubt. I think he's done. And I'm sure The Rock came out, Dwayne Johnson came out and said Black Adam axed. He was good as Black Adam, but the film was terrible. The quality was appalling. I think this just goes on to say what we've already talked about. So what does this mean for DC? Well, it means plenty of opportunity. It means a fresh, clean slate. And it means that the door is open to potentially a whole mega universe across films and TV. I'm putting a lot of hope in James Gunn. I just hope, he does less of the funny, jokey, Guardians of the Galaxy, the Suicide Squad stuff, and it's serious moving forward with other projects. B, that they do a cross between TV and film, because that would be epic, to cross all of those over. That would also kick Marvel's ass, because that's something that they haven't been able to do, as evident by the poor quality in the TV shows in Phase 4. And C is that they do a mega ultra universe with the whole Justice League, bring in all of those characters, do the whole catalogue of villains, but build up to that mega finale of Darkseid, because that would just be quality. That's a $2 billion film. That's a maybe even a $3 billion film right there, doing a Justice League similar to an Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame. But like I said, plenty of opportunity for the DCEU. Now it's on the cards to be rebooted. Oh, this just confirms Cavill done, Affleck done, Gal Gadot done, Miller done, Ray Fisher done, Zachary Levi done, and he played Shazam. Jason Momoa will get a new role, which I think is a bad move. James Gunn's wife stays, I don't know what that's about, and the Suicide Squad stays, which, you know, is all right. But like I said, plenty of opportunity. So, where are we? We're pushing an hour 15. We'll quickly whiz through the Final Fantasy announcement. We'll have a quick blast at the George R.R. Martin update from back in December, and then I think we'll call it quits for today, folks. So, an article from The Gamer. Final Fantasy producer hints at a big announcement later in 2023. The announcement will be unrelated to Final Fantasy VII. That is very interesting news. So Final Fantasy fans probably won't need reminding, but it's going to be a huge year for the series. Not only do we have the next mainline installment in Final Fantasy XVI launching on June 22nd, we also have Final Fantasy VII Rebirth launching at some point in winter this year as well. That's very good news. It's going to be a very busy year for us Final Fantasy fans. So that's two huge games coming out within 6 months of each other, but it seems like Square Enix isn't done there. Okay. So, in a new year message all about the future of the series, Final Fantasy producer Yoshinori Kitase claimed that Square Enix has a big announcement to make this year that is unrelated to Final Fantasy VII in any way. He also claims that 2023 is going to be the most exciting year yet for the series, hinting at further announcements and reveals separate to both of the big hitters. Very promising news this is. This is very, very good. Well, I think we can already muster from this picture and this picture one of the potential spoilers here. Kitase also explains that he can't say anything else at the moment, but we can take a good guess at what this big announcement might be. Most people seem to think that Square Enix is planning either a remake of Final Fantasy IX, which it could do with, actually, or Final Fantasy Tactics, which definitely could do with, as both were listed as part of the massive GeForce Now, which I think is also an Nvidia leak that happened late 2021. Now, I think from this leak, I think we do actually go on to, it is discussed what this leak was on about. There's no guarantee that either of these games are in development, as several leaked titles on the list from above haven't come to fruition or have passed their leaked dates. However, several games from the list have been announced and released by Square Enix since it was found, including Kingdom Hearts 4, Tactics Ogre Reborn, and Chrono Cross Remaster. Well, this is very promising news, because both these projects could do with a reboot, I think. At least we know the big announcement is coming this year, so we won't have to wait too long before we see what Square Enix has planned for the series until 2023. Until then, we feast on what is to be sure one of the best years the series has been in a good long while. That is only to say that if Final Fantasy XVI is a smash hit, and if the second part to the Final Fantasy VII reboot is a smash hit as well. I mean, we've covered both of those titles in previous videos. What other things could this be, though, this announcement? Well, as a Final Fantasy X fan, it could be something to do with Final Fantasy X. It could be something to do with using Unreal Engine 5, which I know a lot of brands are starting to pick up using that technology. It could be Final Fantasy IX remake, reboot, remaster. It could be something to do with tactics, as the article said. But it also could be something to do with Final Fantasy XI. Maybe tying that in with some sort of subscription with Final Fantasy XIV. I've heard rumours and potential ties in with that as well. Or it could be some effort to rebrand Final Fantasy 15, because although that is slightly popular, the game wasn't as good as it could have been. So lots of different opportunities here for Yoshi P and Square Enix to announce. I would absolutely love if it's a Final Fantasy X announcement. That would just make my year with Final Fantasy content, because we could bang loads of videos out, but equally it would be amazing to see that done with up-to-date graphics, because it's already a fantastic game. What I wouldn't want to see is 8, 9 or 10 have the same fate as Final Fantasy 7 in regards to them rebooting or remaking the games and tweaking or changing the story here and there, because it's left a sour taste in my mouth with what's happened with Final Fantasy VII. That storyline was perfect as is, and it could have been a like for like from the original game, and it would have been even more perfect. The fact that they've kind of changed it, though, yes, offers more of a chance to do more content, but it spoils it slightly for me. So let's hope it's a positive announcement. Let's hope it's going to be for one of our Final Fantasy games that we all know and love, which, you know, for me, if it's an 8, 9 or 10 related announcement, that would just be fantastic. Right, now let's finish off the stream with some Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire, and Winds of Winter news. Now, this article has been out a long while. This has been out since December, and we did touch on it in our previous jikGeek in the Week edition. I think that was a couple of weeks ago. But why have I got this on the screen? So it's been 4,203 days since July the 21st, 2011. And for those that don't know that date, that is the date that A Dance with Dragons, the final book in the Song of Ice and Fire series, was published, was released. And that is the final book that we have had from George R.R. Martin in the A Song of Ice and Fire series since then. 4,000 days is a bloody long time to wait for the Winds of Winter. But this article from Esquire magazine confirms the following, and this is kind of a direct pull from George R.R. Martin's Not a Blog, which is GRRM's basic blog on his website. So it says George R.R. Martin has just 500 pages to go on the Winds of Winter. So we've heard all this before. He's promised us the world basically before, and I'm surprised he's even given this quote, because I know he's sick of either promising us the book, promising us an update, and not delivering, and the fans just end up taking the piss out of him basically. And I'm sick of hearing the Winds of Winter updates. I wish he'd just get on with it, pause all other projects, and just finish the damn book. Yes, it's a big book. Yes, he's got a lot of other opportunities. But without this project, without the Winds of Winter releasing, the whole franchise for me is ruined. It's ruined. You know, it doesn't matter, because everything ends then. The only finish to this whole saga, this whole story, is Game of Thrones Season 8, and that was disastrous. Right, let's start from here. So, George R.R. Martin has been writing The Winds of Winter, the highly anticipated penultimate volume in the Game of Thrones series, or A Song of Ice and Fire series, since at least 2010. And lately, as if to make up for over a decade of missed deadlines, he's speaking out on how the book is worth the wait. Recently, in a live stream arranged by his publisher, Martin claimed that The Winds of Winter is about 3/4 of the way done. Well, that's good news. Although he's hesitant to provide a release date for the fear of disappointing his readers, he also revealed that this will be the longest Game of Thrones title yet, calling it a monstrous book as big as a dragon. Well, that's good news. For once, we're getting some positive news about The Winds of Winter. Can we believe Martin, though? After all, we've been deceived before, and this guy sure doesn't like to be reminded of missed deadlines. He quotes, "I've given up making predictions because people press me and press me. When is it going to be done?" Martin said, "And I make what I think is the best case estimate for the time, and then stuff happens." Yeah, like I said, I just wish he'd just get on with it and just do it now, because it's been over 10 years, for God's sake. They're the best, I guess he's referring to, they're the best estimates he can make, but I guess I overestimate my ability to get stuff done. You're also sidetracked, George, with House of the Dragon, other books, Fire and Blood, this project, that project, supporting other stuff, coffee books, Hodor books, other projects. My God, this should be your bread and butter. This should be the main thing that you're focusing on. They should pause production, writing, involvement with House of the Dragon, and get this book done. Anyway. So. Our story begins in 2010 when Martin gleefully announced on his blog that 4 chapters of The Winds of Winter were complete. Well, we've seen a few of those in, he's brought out some videos on these where he's read chapters, he's posted about chapters, and he's leaked chapters. So I think there's about anywhere up to about a dozen chapters that are on the internet now. You can go and find that if you just do a quick Google search. Then in 2011, the first rumbles of trouble. In an interview with Entertainment Weekly, he declined to give a timeline on when fans could expect the 6th book, saying there's an element of fans who don't seem to realise I'm making estimates. I've repeatedly been guilty of an excuse of optimism. Yeah, I mean, the show is obviously, the Game of Thrones show derailed this. The House of the Dragon now is further derailing this, I believe. But the fact that he's 3/4 of the way done means he's got, 2,000 pages? So I think if we combine the A Storm of Swords books that I've got and the Dance of the Dragons books, that's probably 1,200 pages. I know people talk about manuscript pages, but pages in my hand, it was about 1,200. So if the Winds of Winter, no doubt, has to be 2,000 pages because of where we are in the story and where I think the story needs to end at the end of Winds of Winter, which needs to have Daenerys basically cross over to Westeros, and I think she will either hit King's Landing or will arrive in King's Landing, and then in the north I think the others will either approach the wall and there'll be a big battle, or the wall will come down. What happens with Euron, I think he'll have something to do with both Cersei and the wall as well, with the Horn of Winter. But there's going to be a lot of character development and a lot of plot and a lot of story to get to those parts. Right, let's just go straight through this then. So, in 2020, speaking with Adria News, Martin claimed that the Winds of Winter would arrive in 2014. Then after 2014 came and went with no Winds of Winter, Martin's publisher poured cold water on fans' heads. I have no information on likely delivery. These are increasingly complex books and require immense amounts of concentration to write. I mean, you know, that can't be argued. This is going to be probably one of the most complex fantasy, if not complex, books ever written ever, because of the amount of storylines he's got to intertwine and unpick and solve all of the problems that he's got currently. Plus developing this, plus setting it up for a Dream of Spring. So in March 15, Martin told Access, I still have a lot of pages to write. Then a month later he told Entertainment Weekly that he hoped to release the book in spring 2016. Fans were alarmed in September 16 when Amazon France listed The Winds of Winter with a March 27 release date, but according to HarperCollins, it was a big old nothing burger. So yeah, that was just false. Cut to Jan 2017 when Martin insisted that this was definitely going to be this year. Well, it obviously wasn't because we haven't got it. I do think you will have a Westeros book from me in 2018, and who knows, maybe two. Again, promises he didn't deliver on. So, 2018, fans eagerly awaited the next book, but were understandably concerned. So, he took to his trusty blog to reassure them, work on the Winds of Winter continues and remains my top priority. I think that's a bit ridiculous. I don't think it was. "2020 brought the fans' answers to their fans' prayers. The pandemic forced everyone into isolation." Well, I thought at this point he would have loads of time to just, you know, basically write what he wanted on the Winds of Winter, make loads of progress. He's, you know, he wouldn't have any excuse not to write countless pages. And I guess he probably did get progress done, but I don't think he got as much done as he wanted to. Maybe because it's complex, maybe because his old typewriter broke, maybe because he had a writer's block, maybe something else. I'm spending long hours every day on the Winds of Winter, so this is back in 2020 and making steady progress. I finished a new chapter yesterday, another one 3 days ago, another one the previous week. Right, Martin wasn't kidding when he said that he had a long way to go. In 2021, he deemed downright at the thought of being held accountable for all his missed deadlines. So he got pissed off and annoyed, which, you know, because he's a bit egotistical now. That's meant to happen, and all this success has gone to his head now. So he's a bit, he's a bit defensive. But just fucking get on with it, George. That's what we want from you. So he goes on to say, I get the Winds of Winter, the 6th book is late. I could get 100 good comments, but there are still few fans who are going to remind me about the delay, basically. Then goes on to say he's teasing readers. Now, it sounds like the Winds of Winter and A Song of Ice and Fire may have a different body count than the television series. Okay. One thing I can say in general enough is that I will not be spoiling anything. Not all of the characters who survived until the end of Game of Thrones will survive until the end of A Song of Ice and Fire. That's a good point. And not all of the characters, vice versa, who survived Game of Thrones will die in the books. Some will, sure, of course, maybe not, but definitely not all. And of course, I could change my mind next week. And the ending, you will need to wait until I get there. Some things will be the same, a lot will not. Now that is the best point of this article. This is what I want. A different ending, because the one we got was utter shit. So that is probably the best piece of news to come out of this. So this brings us up to the present, where now even animated characters are getting on Martin's case. Well, I think animated characters in terms of like the public. Martin, right, let's finish this one off. So Martin goes on to reveal that he's written about 1,100 to 1,200 pages of the book so far and has just another 400 or 500 pages to go. Look, that's going to be a massive book, and no doubt that will probably end up being more pages. So I reckon this is going to be close to 1,800, 2,000 pages, which again needs to be. Your problem is solved. You break down the 1,000 pages into 3 books. You submit them 1 per year. They'll be happy, and suddenly you'll be ahead of the schedule. As if Martin... okay, so I think this needs to be probably 3 massive books, but I think they need to come out all at once, much like the 2 books did with A Storm of Swords. And I think you can get that as a single copy, but much like the 2 editions of A Dance with Dragons came out as well. I think this is going to be probably 3 books. You never know, it could even be 4. I just hope we get it in the next couple of years, because he's getting on a bit. I did have something somewhere that talked about what the different book projects that he's got on the go would be. Because yes, he's got the TV shows. Yes, he's got House of the Dragon to focus on. But there's also rumours that he's got Duncan Egg as well as a TV show in production. He's obviously got more Duncan Egg stories to develop and finish that story. Then he's got Fire and Blood Part 2. Because if they want to continue House of the Dragon, this can't be... Well, I guess it could go to the end of the Dance with the Dragon storyline, but what's next for that? What does that look like for the Targaryen storylines? The Winds of Winter is his priority for the books. Is it his priority in terms of a list of top 10 things? I really hope it is. I don't know if it is, though. By the sounds of this, it is, and it'll probably continue to be. What that means going forward, though, is there's going to be a hell of a lot more books to pressure George into writing first before he either finishes The Winds of Winter or he starts A Dream of Spring. And that's going to be just as big of a puzzle piece to fix, because not only has he got to pick up from The Winds of Winter where that left off, that's going to be another massive book. He's got to tie all of these stories into one massive epic climax that he's been building up to with the dragons, the Iron Throne, King's Landing. He's got to include things like the God's Eye and the Children of the Forest, the others. Does he bring in a Night King? He's got to bring in all of the prophecy stuff with Jon Snow potentially being the prince that was promised. Figure out what all this Azor Ahai stuff means and make this epic conclusion to the A Song of Ice and Fire series, what all of the backstories means, in again probably a 3 or 4 book epic final chapter, epic final book. So he's still got a lot to do. I just hope he can do it, and I hope it's as quality as what we've seen with the previous 4 books, because they've been absolute masterpieces. Now, we've been through a lot this week. Let me know what you've thought. Let me know what you think we should do, what we think we should cover in our next jikGeek in the week in episode 4. If you've enjoyed the content, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, never miss an update. Comment on what you think we should do next week, and let me know your thoughts on any of the articles and the leaks and the information we've been through this week. Love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for joining us if you've been with us in the chat and on the live stream this week. If you're joining us after we've gone live, enjoy the content, and I'll see you again for the next one. Take care. Bye for now.